A war of words continued Tuesday between Grenada's ruling and opposition MPs over a boycott of the sitting of the Parliamentary Finance Committee. The 5 opposition members in the 15-member chamber stayed away from the parliamentary session, which is in preparation for next month's budget presentation, complaining about a shoddy treatment in regards to the meeting's schedule. It was brought forward by almost a week, with the leader of government business, Philip Telesford, saying that the original date was not a firm arrangement, and what appeared to be, according to both sides, a gentleman's agreement on approach to scheduling faces the prospect of completely falling apart.
We agreed on a gentleman's agreement that, so again, I heard the thing about it's not in the law. It's not in the standing orders. Sometimes you do things that are even above the morals of the standing orders, that you say, okay, let us give the opposition ample time so that they can make their contribution, bearing in mind the nature of Parliament.
Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell told a press conference late Monday that a decision of the main opposition New National Party legislators to boycott a meeting of the Finance Committee of Parliament was reckless. Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell was flanked by his Finance Minister Dennis Cornwall and the leader of government business Philip Telesford at the hastily arranged press conference.
We in fact received was a letter from the leader of His Majesty's opposition asking for the date to be rescheduled because he had another matter fixed for that date which he could not reschedule. No details as to what that matter was provided to the leader of government's business. The Finance Committee does not require the presence of the leader of His Majesty's opposition to be present. Whether he chooses to attend or not is a matter for him. There had been no indication that the date was inconvenient to other members of the opposition. And so it is quite clear that they took a deliberate decision to boycott and not attend the Finance Committee meeting today. That is regrettable. We think it's actually reckless and an abandonment of their duties as parliamentarians and as members of the Finance Committee to have their input into the draft estimates which the law mandates must be submitted to the Finance Committee for review and approval before they can make their way into the estimates of revenue and expenditure appropriation bill.
But on Tuesday, opposition leader Keith Mitchell, flanked by senior MPs Peter David and Clarice Modeste, said it was the government that could be considered as acting recklessly by not trying to ensure their participation in the meeting.
The member for St. David's, because we are members of Parliament, is making statements that he doesn't have a clue of the implication of those statements and how bad he's looking. Because he seems to think this is the lawyer office that he's running. You're not running a lawyer office. You are a member of Parliament. You are not the boss of the Parliament. There's no boss in Parliament.
Dr. Keith Mitchell said the way the government's team has been acting in recent months, defying the opposition, runs contrary to their sometimes call for unity.
So how could you proceed to initiate a divisive process with a most important sitting of Parliament? How do you do that? And still come and call, let us unite, let us work together, and we're going to build this country. You are setting the seeds of division.
Clarence have always spoken about the need to work together and my optimism that we can find ways to work together. And certainly, the government, while in opposition, spoke about the need to pull the country together. But now, when you pull the Parliament apart, you're actually pulling the people apart.
Prime Minister Mitchell had said the change of date was not a big issue, with reports indicating it was brought forward by almost a week, mainly to facilitate his overseas travel.
And I want to reiterate what the leader of government business has said, and I think we need to appreciate. Each of us volunteered for the job of being a member of Parliament. The Parliament is the highest institution in the land. It is the law-making body in the state of Grenada. And so when parliamentary calendars are scheduled as parliamentarians, short of sickness or death, it is all fundamental obligation to make sure that we can attend Parliament. And so if we choose to absent ourselves, that's on us. That has nothing to do with the scheduling of Parliament. There's actually no obligation on us as the government to consult with the opposition in the scheduling.
Former Foreign Minister Peter David suggested that the Speaker of the House of Parliament should have intervened on the scheduling issue and not leave it up to the leader of government business.
It was the role of the Speaker. The Speaker has a critical role to play in this. Now, I understand that he was appointed by the government. That we can't stop that. That is the way the Constitution functions, and I know he is indebted to them. But he is also indebted to the Constitution of this country and good governance in this country. He must step in and say to the ministers of government and the majority members of Parliament that, listen, while you have the power to do what you're doing, for the good governance of this country, let us work together. He must intervene in these matters to find a way to talk to us.
Opposition leader Keith Mitchell also suggested that the Prime Minister seemed to be having his way over the leader of government business.
The leader of government business seemed to have, it appears, little power. Because he makes a decision with our member, and then someone comes up, the big boss comes up, and he announces a new date for budget. Are we supposed to listen to him or listen to what the consultative process lead us to be? I don't know. That you could put to a number of factors, maybe inexperience, arrogance, ignorance. I'm not going to define which one it is.
During Monday's press conference, Prime Minister Mitchell announced that the budget will be presented on December 4. The opposition said that was news to them, since both sides had already agreed on a December 9 date.
There are supporters who may have influence. These supporters have a fundamental responsibility. You voted this government. You gave them your full backing. You have a fundamental responsibility. I'm calling on those members of that support this government, who are supposed to be influential members in some sectors of the society. I am saying to them, you have a responsibility to pull that Prime Minister together and saying, get your act together. You are not there for yourself. You are not there to satisfy your ego. You are there as a servant, a fundamental servant of the people of this country. And get your act together.
This is Primetime Caribbean.